And now, being a Friday, time to catch up with our main man when it comes to big movies on the small screen. It's Van Connor, one of the country's leading film critics. He gives you 3 recommendations of Freeview films on offer to get you through the weekend. I give you 3 as well, so it's the joy of 6 with me and Van Connor. Good morning, Van, and how's your week been, matey? How's lockdown going for you and the family?
It's been good for me, Mr. Ross. I'm enjoying some great old-school comedies, I think, this week.
Well, you're starting with a good old-school comedy, a great recommendation. You're going for, I think it's ITV2, tonight, 9 o'clock, American Wedding. If you're easily offended, push off, because it's one of the American Pie films, isn't it, this?
This is the original trilogy closer. This is where they started to bump Steve Stifler more to the forefront, I think. Sean William Scott Stifler became more the primary character. And this is the wedding of Michelle and Jim, the central romantic figures from the original, who filtered more and more into the mainstream over the two. And this is, of course, as the title cleverly suggests, the wedding that will lead to nothing but an ever-increasing cascade of sexual faux pas through various increasingly ridiculous scenarios.
Well, I think I remember that the poster tag on this was, will he take her up the aisle? And that's about the level of the humour, isn't it? Stop sniggering at the back there, folks. It's a perfectly legit question. You've got a clip for us, Van, I think, haven't you?
I do indeed. This is Steve Stifler discovering that he has in fact been deceived from a wedding being taken place. So I'll let you enjoy.
Here we go.
Oh, boys, anybody seen the bride's parents? No?
Wait a second.
Oh,
Wait a second.
Stifler,
This isn't a graduation party.
Wait, hold on.
Jim's getting married, isn't he? Holy this is major. Do you have the slightest idea of how important this is? We get to have a bachelor party. Yes, we celebrate the death of Jim with a party in his honor. Buckle up, fellas, show some enthusiasm. It's gonna be great. Oh my God!
So, quite a few bleeps in that one, but it's a very funny film, this, isn't it? So it's great kind of, great action for you tonight, 9 o'clock ITV2. Now, I'm going to be, my recommendation's a little earlier. I know you've seen this one. I think you actually studied it at university, didn't you? It's called The Secret of the Incas on Talking Pictures TV, a great channel.
I did.
Yeah. Very interesting film, this, because it's on at 2:55 this afternoon. It's made in 1954, and it's basically an archaeologist, rough and ready, called Harry Steele, who goes in search of an Inca treasure. There's double-crossing, there's a bad archaeologist, there's kind of ancient rituals, there's booby traps. So you might be forgiven for thinking it's an early version of Indiana Jones, and a lot of people say it's very influential, because when you look at what Chuck Heston wears, it is a brown leather jacket, kind of bomber jacket, he wears a floppy fedora, he wears combat fatigues and those boots. He's basically wearing Indiana Jones's outfit minus the bullwhip, isn't he, in this film?
He absolutely is, and this is very much the case of a sort of a blueprint archetype for what would become Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is, of course, as you and I both know, Paul, very much the Saturday morning matinee cinema. It's sort of a figure, the adventurer archaeologist type. This is one of the feature-length outings that sort of cemented what that character would be like, and even down to that outfit.
Well, back in the day, it made some money. In fact, it led to a boost in the tourism trade for Machu Picchu in Peru, because it was filmed on location there. Quite unusual. It's the first time an American Hollywood production had filmed on location there. It's a beautiful-looking film, this. I haven't got a clip for you, and I'll tell you why, because it's also a rare screen outing for an amazing singer, very popular in the 50s, called Yma Sumac, Yma-Sumac, a female singer, Peruvian, who has the most astonishing range. She's got a 5-octave range. So to get you in the Peruvian mood, here she is, and it is only her voice, no man involved in this, with Goomba Boomba. Have a listen. I love her voice, because she ends up from that big, rough voice like Lee Marvin doing a kind of falsetto. An amazing performer. Great old movie, this. I do love it as well, though, but I don't know how clearly you remember it. The artifact thereafter is called the Starburst, and it's meant to be solid gold, the size of a dustbin lid. But at one point, the bad guy's running around with it under one arm like it's an LP cover. It's a really sweet old film, this. So that's 2:55 this afternoon for me on Talking Pictures TV, The Secret of the Incas. Van, for tonight, has recommended American Wedding, ITV2, 9 o'clock, and you're going full on, a very fierce film tomorrow is your recommendation. ITV4, 10 o'clock. It's The Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio. This is a great movie, isn't it, Van?
I do love me some Wolf of Wall Street. I think you and I did Oscar night together, I think when this was nominated about 3 years ago.
Absolutely, for the Oscars.
And we did. I was very sad to see that Leo did not get his award for it. However, I maintain I think he deserved it. Great movie, brilliantly directed by Scorsese, starring Dicaprio as Jordan Belfort, the man who literally tore at Wall Street, redefining what would and would not mean being a corrupt banker on the street. I've got a clip for you of him proving his worth to the men he will groom into equal, if not greater, criminals than he ever started out.
And what's really scary is it's all based on a true story. It's tomorrow night, rather, 10 o'clock. It's on ITV4. It's The Wolf of Wall Street.
John, one thing I can promise you, even in this market, is that I never ask my clients to judge me on my winners. I ask them to judge me on my losers because I have so few. And in the case of Aerotine, based on every technical factor out there, John, we are looking at a grand slam home run.
Okay, let's do it. I'll do $4,000.
4,000, that'd be 40,000 shares, John. Let me lock in that trade right now and get back to you with my secretary with an exact confirmation. Sound good, John?
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. Hey, John, thank you for your vote of confidence, and welcome to the Investors Center.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man.
Bye-bye.
How'd you do that?
You're going bleep crazy this morning, aren't you, man? But it's a great movie.
It's a great movie. It really is. And he's so good in it.
Well, I've got a comedy. You gave us a comedy for Friday, American Wedding. I've got a great one for tonight. This film cost $40-odd million, and it made $229.9 million. A huge smash for Sandra Bullock and the wonderful Melissa McCarthy. It reunited her, I think, for the second or third time. She made 4 films with Paul Feig. Bridesmaids, brilliant. Spy, I loved. Fantastic. The Heat, I'm recommending tonight on E4. The Heat, 9 o'clock. Sandra Bullock, Melissa McCarthy. He then went on to commit, though, the dire Ghostbusters female reboot. But this is great. It's kind of straight-laced cop, all over the place, streetwise, very violent, kind of foul-mouthed cop played by Melissa McCarthy. The plot doesn't really matter. It's their kind of female buddy action that does. I love this film. Here's the trailer.
We got a situation in Boston. I'm sending you up.
FBI, we recently got intel that you brought in a dealer, Terrell Rojas.
Hey, look who's here!
Detective Mullen's isn't back from lunch yet.
Sure you won't mind?
Well, he's a she.
Oh, it's on!
I'm Special Agent Sarah Ashburn. Are you about to be interrogated by an officer?
I am an officer, and that's my perp.
Could you just close the door on the way out?
I'll shut the door on you. Will you lay down here, put your head in the door, and I'll slam it about 157,000 times.
Oh, girl, you better run.
I think a lot of it was ad-lib by Melissa McCarthy, but it's a good old cute film, this, isn't it? There was talk of a sequel, but for some reason that never happened. Maybe Sandra Bullock decided not to revisit a scene of a previous trial, but it made a fortune, this film, Van.
It really did. This was when I was starting out as a critic, and I remember really loving the screening for this. I remember really loving the vibe for it, the marketing. There was a horrible period where they put a really awful photoshopped poster of Melissa McCarthy on the rotation for it, and it was really genuinely awful. But the movie was great.
Yep.
And I remember the supporting cast. I remember Bill Burr had a really fun supporting role in this as well, with the whole "Are you a knock?" thing, which I genuinely loved. Yeah. Are you or are you not a knock? And that was the fun.
Because that harsh Bostonian accent. So that's The Heat. It's 9 o'clock tomorrow night on the E4. Great old movie from 2013. I'm going to go 90s for my final recommendation for Sunday afternoon. 12:20 on Sony Movies. They've got a +1 feature as well. It's worth recalling this, I think. It's a complete nonsensical computer game, in fact, video arcade game spin-off from 1994. I know you're going to be jealous that I've got to this one first, Van Connor, because it is... It's Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's Kylie Minogue. It's Raoul Julia as General M. Bison. It's only Street Fighter. This is a cracker, isn't it? A cracking mad film.
Now, this is where you get your Shoryuken, you know?
It's got Roshan Seth in it as well. It's a great, great movie. Let's have the trailer.
After 7 months of fighting, the civil war in Shadaloo may have reached the turning point. The capital has just fallen.
In December 1994, the forces of freedom will face a power-mad dictator in a struggle for the fate of the world.
I think they rebooted. This made money, so they rebooted this, and the reboot wasn't anywhere near as good, but it's a cracking old mad film, this, isn't it? I think based on the Street Fighter game, Street Fighter 2, The World Warrior. My son, who was 13 or 14 when this came out, absolutely loved this movie. I mean, it is nonsense, but it's fun nonsense, isn't it, man?
It's very much an icon of video game history, this film. So this film was designed to capitalise on the early 90s, that first, between 92 and 94 boom of the Super Nintendo and the Sega Mega Drive, the idea to try and raise something to the screen. We saw many things in that time. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. We saw Mario Brothers with Bob Hoskins.
Oh, a stinker.
And then we saw this.
Yep.
And, oh my God, this very much differed. And, well, it offered us Kylie. And
absolutely.
I can only say that was among its highlights.
And it was the last film ever made by Raoul Julia. Yeah. Of course, who played the head of the Addams Family. He was also in Kiss of the Spider-Woman. So that's 12:20 Sunday afternoon on Sony Movies. It's also available on their Plus One channel. But you're going ITV in the afternoon, 1:50 p.m. Another great movie, this Twister. Fantastic storm chaser movie.
I love me some Twister. I do. It's one of those films that I can just watch over and over again. And if for no other reason than the really badly animated CGI cow that gets just flown in front of the screen on point. It is, of course, the 1996 Roland Emmerich film that would go on. Sorry, Jan de Bont film. It was tied to Roland Emmerich. Jan de Bont film that would give us things like, it would tie to things like Speed, and it would go on further than that. And it just became a benchmark of CGI schlockbusters.
Brilliant stuff. And a weird homage almost to the Wizard of Oz with the stuff spinning inside the kind of whirlwind Twister. An interesting film. It's a great fun film as well, though.
Oh, very much so. I mean, there's a point. We've got a clip of them explaining storms. If prior to them explaining the storms, they actually show you the Wizard of Oz in a drive-through cinema as they are doing it. I'll let that be your cue in to play the clip of how they actually explain how storms work.
Buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride.
That was a good-sized twister. What was that, an F3?
Solid F2.
See, now you've lost me again.
It's the Fujita scale. It measures the intensity of a tornado by how much it eats.
Eats?
Destroys.
Little encounter we had back there's a strong F2, F3 maybe.
Bet we see some F4s today.
That'd be sweet.
4 is good. 4 will relocate your house fairly efficiently.
Is there an F5? What would that be like?
The finger of God.
None of you have ever seen an F5?
Just one of us.
Spoiler alert, they might get to see an F5, mightn't they, Val?
I am just going to drop in that as a proper 90s boy, the song they dropped behind that is an absolute doozy and reminds me of a girl.
Okay, we're talking of songs. We're asking people on the show this morning. I'm going to spring this on you now. With your own money, what was the first album, first LP you ever bought, Van? Probably not on vinyl, given your age, maybe on CD, but what's your first album purchase?
I'm going to genuinely admit, with no shame whatsoever, I bought the soundtrack to Batman Forever. That was my very first one.
Was that the Val Kilmer Batman?
The Val Kilmer Batman, so with you.
Is that Smashing Pumpkins? Did Smashing Pumpkins do the song, or was that The Cure?
Oh. No,
U2?
Smashing Pumpkins was the one Smashing Pumpkins was the one after U2 were Batman Forever.
Of course they were.
U2 and Seal doing Kiss from a Rose.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much indeed. The fantastic Van Connor. Where can we find you online, Van? You're in Rebecca Perfect for your cinematic musings.
You can find us on Friday mornings on podcast platforms on the Off-Screen Show.
Thank you very much indeed. The fantastic Van Connor. First LP purchase with Batman Forever. You can squeeze in yours if you give me a call or tweet us as well at TS Extra Time, or give us a call 08717 22 33 44. And that, my friends,